By Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. K-Man Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The K-Man Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. FIS MoneyGram, the safest and most convenient way to send money worldwide. MoneyGram, bringing you closer. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. And Fidelity Bank. Fidelity, we're good for you.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Wednesday, the first day of July 2020. I hope and I trust that everyone had an enjoyable, peaceful, restful evening. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, again, we want to urge you to exercise extreme caution. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, operating any type of motorized vehicle on the roads of the Cayman Islands. Remember that the life you save may be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday. And if you've celebrated one over the past few days, a belated happy birthday as well. I want to give a special shout out today for this young man, Mr. Henberg Dixon. Mr. Henberg Dixon, otherwise known as Yoka. He turns 90 years of age today. In 1952, Mr. Henberg Dixon, worked as a pumpman for National Bulk Carriers. And he worked for them for 29 years. Mr. Dixon, Henberg Dixon, also known as Yoka. He's also the oldest man in Spot Bay, Cayman Brac. So, Mr. Henberg Dixon, we want to wish you a happy birthday today. Hope you enjoy it with your friends and your family. Of course, at 90 years of age, he puts Mr. Dixon in that vulnerable group as far as coronavirus is concerned. But so you want to ensure that you observe the social or physical distancing as well to make sure that we protect Mr. Dixon. And of course, we know that the BRAC, we've been very successful. The government has been very successful in containing the spread of the coronavirus in the BRAC as well. So we know what the situation is there, but we still have to ensure that we keep our guards up, that we don't let them down whatsoever, especially for those who are more vulnerable in our society as well. Those of you who have lost loved ones during the past few days, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you, and we hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these very challenging times. And we here at Radio Cayman would like to extend our sincere condolences to Mr. Ezard Miller, Mr. D. Ezard Miller, MLA who represents the district of North Side, as well as his siblings, Mr. Jairus Miller, Miss Mary Lou, and Miss Susan as well. We want to extend our sincere condolences to all of them on the passing of their mother, Mrs. Mary Miller. I corresponded with Mr. Miller yesterday evening, and he has asked me to express his apologies for not being on the show this morning, and that is quite understandable, having lost his mother. And I'm sure that my listening and viewing audience as well would want to extend condolences to Mr. Miller and his family on the loss of their loved one, Mrs. Mary Miller, as well. So, it is very with heavy heart that we pass this information on to you, and we want to again express our sincere condolences. I also want to point out that the opposition members did issue a press release coming from the office of the leader of the opposition as well. And that reads, the members of the official opposition wish to extend their sincere condolences to Mr. D. Ezard Miller, MLA, and his siblings Jairus, Mary Lou, and Susan on the passing of their mother, Mrs. Mary Miller. Mrs. Mary was known to the members of the opposition, and all are deeply saddened by the announcement of her passing. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Arden McLean, JP, MLA, and longtime colleague of Mr. Miller, also expressed his sad condolences. And his quote is saying, Mrs. Mary was one of those strong Caymanian women who was involved in all matters concerning the country when we needed it most, and who built this country when the men were away at sea, raising their children and managing her family's affairs. Her husband himself was a captain. I join my colleagues in expressing our sincere condolences. I know that she will be sadly missed. So again, our sincere condolences going out to Mr. Miller and his family, and we hope and we trust and we know that your faith will help to carry you through these very challenging times as well. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are always open. And back in the studio, none other than that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Of course, if you don't like to talk on the telephone, then email us, like most people do. Email us at fortherecord, that is one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us, 925-3261. You can send us a text message, leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And, of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. We have one caller, but before I go to that caller, I just want to give you yesterday's update in terms of the COVID-19 testing for the 30th of June. And the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. John Lee, reported that there were 470 COVID-19 tests carried out in the last 24 hours. That was as of yesterday. One was positive for the SARS-CoV-2, the virus causing COVID-19 disease. The positive individual was identified through the screening program and is asymptomatic. So again, we have a situation where by virtue of the screening process, we have been able to identify another asymptomatic person. Again, we want to say to you, all of the public, do not let your guard down. We see many people adhering to the practice of wearing masks, but then there are some who still do not wear them. We want to bear in mind those persons who are more vulnerable than others in our society of contracting this disease and this virus. And you must be mindful of your surroundings. You must be mindful of other persons' vulnerabilities as well. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, good morning, O.C.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, God, I don't know, because, if you notice, I mean, you're on the road probably as much as I am. You notice that things are pretty much going back to the way they were.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And, I really, I feel bad for you guys that riding bicycles out there, because I shouldn't say this, father, but, you got to be so careful because of the drivers that we have in.
Caller, you still there? Your phone is breaking up. We're getting some static there.
What is wrong with this phone? Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, much better.
No, I was saying, I think the police could be doing a lot more than what they're doing, and, be able to point out and know that what people are doing on the road is wrong, instead of people like myself having to point it out to them. Because, I mean, I called you this morning to find out if there's any way that you could be a police. I mean, you've done everything else in this country. And I don't know if you were a police or a special constable at any point in time.
No.
But you wasn't. So I'm gonna ask you if you could be a police in this country for a while, just by using the radio and getting the word out there. When we only had one lane in this country, right? There was no such thing as a slow and a fast lane, right? You had to be to the mercy of that car in the front of you, hoping that they would do the speed limit, right? Not break the speed limit. Don't get me wrong. Do the speed limit and try to avoid the issues and the problems that we're having on the road, as far as congestion and all of this kind of stuff that's happening, and people stopping right in the middle of the road, buses, and letting people off, and you have to wait on them. I mean, this is not accepted. I don't care what part of the world you go. It is plainly not accepted. So my point this morning is that, like I said, I'm on the road a lot, and the fast lane is your right-hand lane. We drive on the left.
Yes.
If you drive on the right, your slow lane is on the right, okay? And your fast lane is on the left if you drive on the right.
Right.
So we here drive on the left. So our slow lane is on the left. Once we got two lanes, if you could just try to, I mean, I haven't heard the police in all of my days in this country actually came out and say that, here is what we have. We have two lanes. The left-hand lane is your slow lane. If you're driving in the right-hand lane and you're not going to do the speed limit, please come over to the left-hand lane. So give the people that has the right and want to do the speed limit the right-hand lane. But these people do not care. You come up behind a car in the right-hand lane, you're doing 40 miles an hour, and they're coming up behind them, they are doing 30 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour. There's another car on your left that is doing the same thing, so you have no way to go
You're
back. To just
boxed in, yes.
Stay behind them and just punish. And why can't I do the speed limit? I don't want to break the speed limit, so I have to stress this a lot, because people will take this and they'll twist it around, just to say, oh, he wants to speed and this and that. But that is not what I am trying to get across.
I mean, caller, the reason why, let's say, for instance, they've set the speed limit at 40 miles an hour in a particular area is because they feel that the physical conditions on that road allows you to do that. Now, the traffic may not allow you to do it, but when the traffic situation allows you, you're allowed to drive up to 40 miles an hour.
Exactly.
There is no excuse for someone driving at 30 miles an hour in a 40 mile an hour zone unless there's something wrong with the vehicle. Go ahead.
If you are going to do the 30 miles an hour, just come over to the left-hand lane and leave the right-hand lane free. So, if you could stress this a little bit more, and the police needs to stress this.
Caller, I believe more so than the police, do you think it would be a good idea if we put up signs reminding drivers of that, put those on those medians that are there, put up signs reminding them. We see the signs that we had, curfew time, things of that nature, put those up there. Because what has happened, and you mentioned the fact that we've gone beyond the days when we had just one single lane road. Many of those drivers who are on the road and are doing that, they have taken their driver's test, like in the 40s and the 50s, like you and I did, but they haven't kept up with events. Some of them may not have driven in foreign countries and realized what's happening, so they fall into their little comfort zone here in the Cayman Islands where they do that. So I think rather than the police being out there doing it, we need to have permanent reminders on the roads.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And another thing too, Crico, I don't think that these teachers, the learners, what do you call them?
Driving instructors.
The driving instructors. I don't think that they are doing a proper job getting the message across to their students also, because, the point I'm making here also is your indicators. That is put there for a reason, for me to know what you are doing in your car. That's the only how I can know what you are doing. I can't tell no other what you are doing. Your indicators tells me everything I need to know when you are and me are on the road. But it seems like they don't know that. So the police need to start issuing tickets for these people and get the message across that we're not accepting it, because it's only going to get worse, right? You open one door, you know what's going to happen. Sooner or later, there is going to be somebody come along and say, you know what? Well, this is what we need to do. So they're looking to open another door again and another door, and there's no end to the issues and the problems that we're having. So the point is, you need to nip these things in the bud and stop it and sit.
Yeah, I'm way over my time for a commercial break. Sorry about that. But thank you very much for that, and we'll continue to hammer it home here, especially in my opening comments in the morning as well. Rather than just saying, ensure that you observe the rules of the road, I'll tell them what the rules of the road are too. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
George Haig Bodden, MBE, 1930 to 1995.
George Haig Bodden, MBE. Mr. Haig served as an assistant teacher at the Georgetown School, and from 1948 to 1954 was in charge of the Breakers School. Between 1959 and 1964, he worked for HM Customs. He was the first Caymanian to become a chartered life underwriter and was a lifetime member of the prestigious $1 Million Round Table. He played a leading role in the Boddentown Presbyterian Church concerts, which were very popular, especially during garden parties. Mr. Haig entered entered Bodentown politics in 1972 and served as an MLA until his death, except for a short break from 1988 to 1990. He served on EXCO from 1976 to 1984 and was responsible for creating the Maritime Conservation Law of 1978 and for establishing the Water Authority. The cadastral survey was also completed during his tenure. He was named Deputy Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. Most of his adult life was dedicated to the service of his country, for which he was awarded the MBE by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in 1995. He was married to Loreline Nee Powell, and the couple had 3 children.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Even in this time of uncertainty, time of challenge, we adapt to change, making good on opportunity, clearing a path of continuity. Our children, our students, seek to further learning confined at home. Our teachers reach out and teach, furthering scholarship, their classrooms scattered far and wide, using technology, bridging distance. That's why Rotary Central joined the AlphaSoft initiative, sponsoring a first batch of 297 of the 600 laptops needed for students in need, students who would be absent from school without a laptop. $7,000 dedicated to the purchase of laptops benefiting children at John Gray High, children at Sir John A. Cumber Primary in West Bay, Rotary Central, and the AlphaSoft initiative, taking care of children who want to learn. Our children, their future, more secure. Rotary, connecting the world.
Recent worldwide events bring into focus the need for quality health care. Your life is meaningful. Your health is no laughing matter. Cayman Pharmacy Group strives to make your health their concern. Recognizing the complexities of pharmaceuticals and the need to personalize your care with one-on-one counseling. West Bay Pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, and CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Visit CaymanPharmacy.com for more information. Cayman Pharmacy Group, taking care of your health.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
The Toyota-thon 2020 event is going on now at Vamped Motors. Get our lowest prices of the year on a great selection of our most popular Toyotas with big savings on the new CHR Hybrid, the 7-seater Rush, the adventurous RAV4, the rugged Hilux truck, and more. You can drive home an amazing deal. Save up to $5,000. Take the full discount, get cash back, upgrade your vehicle with your savings. It's all your choice during our huge Toyota-thon sales event going on through July. Don't miss out. Come to Vamped Motors for your new Toyota. Let's go places.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes, Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore,
System 1 loaded. 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio. Of course, I informed you earlier about the sad news of the passing of Mrs. Mary Miller, the mother of MLA Mr. Ezard Miller. He was scheduled to be on the show this morning, and he got in touch with me yesterday to let me know what had occurred, as well. And he wants to extend his apologies for not being here. And of course, we all understand what, his situation. Many of us have been through that before, so we know exactly what he's going through here in his family as well. And we can only say, cherish the good times that you have. Keep those in your memories, all of the good times that you had with your mother as well. We have about 4 minutes before we go to our 8 o'clock news. Let's see what I can share with you in the meantime. For members of the Cayman Islands Civil Service, on the 30th of June, 1966, on the 30th of June, 1966, and I will admit I was not a member of the Civil Service then, but a gentleman by the name of Mr. West, last name Mr. West, the Salaries Commissioner, who has been assigned the task of conducting a survey of the civil service pay scales throughout the West Indies. That's what we were calling the 1960s, the West Indies, not the Caribbean. And make specific recommendations on an effort to equate such salaries. And he's presently surveying the civil service structure of the Cayman Islands, 1966, okay? When Mr. West's visit was first announced, it was estimated that he would be able to devote only a week to the Cayman survey, but Mr. Desmond V. Watler, acting administrator, said on Saturday that Mr. West is likely to remain here for about 1 month. I wonder if he got to the Cayman Islands and found it so nice and say, let's turn that week into a month. Usually what happens, but I'm only speculating there. He said that this indicated the thoroughness of the job that Mr. West would do here. Now, I am not sure about the size of the civil service in 1966. It would not have been that big, even though at that time government would have still been the largest employer on the islands, other than national bulk carriers, right? Says Mr. Watler emphasized that Mr. West is in no way being guided by the government officials here in his research, but he is completely independent of any and all government influence. Mr. West's report and recommendations will be made directly to London and not to the Cayman Islands government. This has received the wholehearted support of the Cayman government, and it is hoped that the results will be useful in making a civil service career more attractive to our locally qualified working men and women. So that was a salary review in 1966. No mention whatsoever about a civil service association, because I don't believe that we had one at that time in 1966. But if we did and someone knows about it, please call in and correct me on that. But we have seen the civil service in the Cayman Islands move from strength to strength. We now have the Civil Service Association. We have a president, so that there is formal representation, in our dealings with government as well. Top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
We've got some good news. You can now shop at Foster's no matter what day it is.
We're now open 6:30 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday to Saturday. But please remember that you're still required to wear a face covering when shopping with us.
And don't forget to maintain a distance of at least 6 feet from others in the store. This is all to ensure that you have a happy, healthy shopping experience with us. For more info, visit fosters.ky. Foster's. Better because we care.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is proudly sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. For further information, please visit chamberpension.ky. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Did you know that with the COVID-19 Emergency Withdrawal Program, we reviewed over 12,000 member applications in May, approved over 8,000 applications, and paid over CI 90 million to our members from June 12th onwards? We are the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, and we're here for you. For further information regarding the Emergency Withdrawal Program, visit chamberpension.ky, and for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Government publishes the first 5 in a series of 7 user-friendly guidance documents for childcare solutions. According to government, the guidance created by the Childcare Policy Working Group aims to ease the return to workplace by employees with children and support child center activities such as early childcare and education centers, summer and sports camps, vacation Bible schools, and tutoring programs. This guidance document follows the easing of COVID-19 restrictions with the introduction of Suppression Level 2 on June 22nd, and the gradual easing of restrictions expected to continue into July 2020. Health Minister the Honourable Dwayne Seymour says staying active during the COVID-19 pandemic is crucial for both Cayman's physical and mental health.
It looks so beautiful to see our people on the road and doing something, exercising, but it looks like you've slowed down now since we started to open up. Let's keep it up. Most stayed home and some put on some weight. What's a little weight when you have life? Let's start that exercising again. Did you know exercise improves your mental health, your mood, your sleep? You eat better, you think better, get more energy and better memory. Let's get back out and let's get started exercising again.
Minister Seymour says as you head out on the road, keep your distance to stop the spread of COVID-19. Some businesses and services are beginning to reopen in the wake of the coronavirus shutdown, but large gatherings are still prohibited. That means sports will have a longer and more complicated path to return. The good news is, though, that some sports are slowly making their way back to the pitch. The Cayman Islands Football Association is restarting football activities in Cayman soon. And as Radio Cayman's Dion England reports, the dates and information were deliberated by the CIFA Executive Committee at its last meeting held in June.
On June 29th, football clubs can restart training using football facilities across the Cayman Islands. However, you want to contact the Department of Sports for booking government facilities. Contact sports are not allowed, so teams can have physical and technical activities respecting social distance and sanitization procedures. On July 19th, contact sports are allowed. Teams can do regular training sessions. August 8th and 9th, last round of Cayman Premier League and Women's Premier League. The fixtures will be distributed in the following week. August 16th, Men and Women's President Cup finals at the Annex Field will take place. Official match details will be circulated in the following week. On September 27th, the proposed starting date of the 2020-2021 season with men and women's Charity Shield matches subject to change. October 3rd and 4th proposed dates to start the 2020-2021 Cayman Premier League and Women's Premier League. The 2020-2021 youth competition starting dates are yet to be decided and will be informed at a later date. The CIFA Executive Committee hopes that everyone is keeping safe and healthy, and they would like to remind everyone that they must continue to exercise safety, using protective face covering and hand sanitizers, as well as having a clean working environment and respecting social distancing are strongly recommended at all times. Reporting for Radio Cayman Sports, I'm Dion Anglin.
Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News, I'm John Shea. There have been clashes in Hong Kong where police have made their first arrests under a new security law imposed by China. Police used water cannon and pepper spray against protesters. So far, more than 180 people have been detained, 7 of them relating to the new legislation. One man was arrested for holding up a banner advocating Hong Kong's independence. Russians are voting on the final day of a week-long referendum that could clear the way for President Putin to stay in office for another 16 years. Opposition figures have dismissed the poll as a farce. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has urged Israel not to annex parts of the occupied West Bank. He said such a move would violate international law. Benjamin Netanyahu's government had said it might start the annexation process from today. Italian police have seized 14 tons of amphetamine-based drugs with an estimated street value of more than $1 billion. Police in Naples say they're investigating possible links between the local mafia and Syrian criminals connected to the Islamic State group. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is proudly sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. For further information, please visit chamberpension.ky. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Did you know that with the COVID-19 Emergency Withdrawal Program, we reviewed over 12,000 member applications in May, approved over 8,000 applications, and paid over CI 90 million to our members from June 12th onwards? We are the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, and we're here for you. For further information regarding the Emergency Withdrawal Program, visit chamberpension.ky, and for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Helping children cope during this pandemic is important. Remember, dealing with the outbreak calmly provides your child with the best support. Lead by example and take care of your needs too. To support your child, listen and acknowledge their fears and questions. Provide clear information and be aware of your own reactions. Help children by creating new routines, limiting their exposure to media, and encouraging them to talk about what they've seen and heard. For free and confidential support, call the Mental Health Helpline weekdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 1-800-534-MIND. That's 1-800-534-6463.
When a storm is approaching, be sure to not only stock up on drinking water, but also non-drinking water. This is water that can be used for cleaning and washing. You can store non-drinking water in clean bathtubs or other large sterile containers. Visit the Water Authority's website, www.waterauthority.ky, or follow us on social media for more hurricane preparedness tips.
Travel between the 3 Cayman Islands remains restricted until further notice. Persons may only travel between Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman to provide essential services or for emergency medical purposes. Persons traveling between any of the 3 islands may do this by contacting bractravel@gov.ky with the details of their proposed travel, including purpose of visit, length of stay, accommodations, etc. Applications will be processed on a case-by-case basis. All individuals traveling to the sister islands from Grand Cayman must undergo a 14-day mandatory isolation period at a government facility. They will be tested on the 15th day, and direct transportation to the airport will be arranged if they have a negative result.
The Weather Report is proudly sponsored by Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
New stock has just arrived at Super Stitch. Now don't take my word for it. Drop by and see for yourself. Fresh off the boat, we have loads of fabric, vinyl upholstery fabric, fabric for cushions, outdoor fabrics, and dress fabric. That's not all. Super Stitch has sewing accessories and craft items. Included in the new shipment, you will find sheets, comforters, throw pillows, bath mats, rugs, and curtains for every room in your home. Super Stitch, 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best price in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Superstitch Sewing and Fabric Center was the proud sponsor of the Weather Report, your one-stop shop for all of your household items, craft items, jewelry, beads, and decorations, and much more. Call Superstitch at 949-2833 or email customer care at superstitch.com.ky.
Super Stitch. We are known for our amazing fabrics, top quality tailoring, and dressmaking. But did you know that we also carry trimmings, glitter, sequins, acrylic paints for fabrics and craft, floral wire, glues, markers, foam balls, and assorted ribbons? Yes, we do. You have a do-it-yourself project? Just pop into Super Stitch and see what we have in store for you. There is a craft item for your every need.
My favorite, the beads, glass ones, flat, and even those shell ones.
Super Stitch, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasadora Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look at traffic. Coming from the east, traffic on Shamrock Road is steady but flowing, as well as on the Linford Pearson Highway. Moderate flow of traffic coming off of Bobby Thompson Way. As we look to Crew Road, traffic is steady but flowing, and a light to moderate traffic flow on Owen Roberts Drive. Things looking pretty good on Sheridan Road, and on Aidwood Street in front of the Georgetown Post Office, traffic is flowing at a good pace. And Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue, moderate flow of traffic in both directions. On the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is moving along pretty good. And coming from the West Bay four-way stop, light to moderate traffic flow. And remember to stay safe on the roads and practice good driving habits. Do your part and stay safe, K-Man. That's the very latest on your traffic report. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll give you another traffic outlook.
Subway is helping to keep Cayman safe by limiting store openings and hours, offering curbside pickup and delivery right to your door. With 3 locations currently open to serve you: Anderson Square in Georgetown, Centennial Towers in West Bay, and Countryside Shopping Village in Savannah. Subway is open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on soft curfew days. Free delivery for orders with a minimum $20 purchase. Delivery times only from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Subway, helping you to enjoy your favorite foods in the safest way possible.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Mommy, have you been taking your medication? No, I think I forgot to pick it up. Your doctor prescribed it for a reason, so you should be taking it regularly. I know, TD. Thanks for the reminder.
If you are elderly or vulnerable and need your prescription delivered to your home, contact the Health Services Authority Pharmacy at 949-8600. Taking your medication when prescribed is important to your health, and your health matters to us. For more information about our pharmacy hours and locations, visit hsa.ky. or call 949-8600.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio. And again, we want to extend our sincere condolences to Mr. MLA, Mr. Ezra Miller and his family and the passing of Mrs. Mary Miller, a mother of Mary Lou, Mr. Ezard, Jairus, and Susan, sorry. We will have on the show with us later on this morning after the 9 o'clock news. We expect to have Mr. Vaughn Carter, who is the chairperson of the Constitutional Commission here in the Cayman Islands. And of course, Monday we celebrate Constitution Day, as well. So we're going to have him on short notice, but, he's going to be able to make it on at 9 o'clock, and we will be talking about constitutional issues, with Mr. Vaughn Carter as well. So we look forward to that. We hope and we trust that you do as well. I believe we have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, O.C.
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, I too would like to extend my condolences to Mr. Miller and his brothers and sisters,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know her as much as I knew her husband, Mr. Miller's father, but, I was seeing him met her a couple of times, She was really quite a nice lady, quiet, always seemed to be taking care of things,
Yes.
Yeah. I went through that in 2001, O.C. But I tell you that I'm sure you went through it too.
Oh, yes.
I tell you, that's a feeling, The older the people that feel it know that I believe, because, there's no one closer to you that you don't feel that close to you. At least I didn't feel that close to my mom as I felt to my old lady.
Yeah, we have a tendency to gravitate more towards one than the other. We find that way happen sometimes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So how the Dominoes? How you getting any games in?
Not back on track yet. Hopefully soon, but at our age group there, we're all vulnerable, so we want to make sure that the everything is safe before we get back to it.
We've been having some pretty good games up here.
I may have to come up there then. Yeah.
They have them on the chop, hitch a ride on the chopper. It lands right in front of the bakery.
Yes.
The last time it came, I took a video of it,
Okay.
Yeah, man. So I just called to say that, and what Peter was talking about in the traffic, I don't be down there as much as I used to be,
Mm-hmm.
But down there, I mean, it really somebody need to do something, especially the people that you see driving those buses, because they seem like they control, they own the road, I experienced that quite a lot down there, going back and forth, Yeah, man. They really need to do something about that.
Yeah, question. Your situation that we used to talk about quite a bit. Are you any progress with that?
Well, I sort of put that on hold because through all this thing, remember when the governor was on your show, I'd called in about it, you know, and he told me I must get some information and send him, but through this thing coming on so quickly, you know, a lot of things just went on hold that, you know, wasn't as, not that it's not important, but, you know, I hope one of these days we get it sorted out, you know.
Okay, great.
I don't want to be no long time enemies of the government or no enemy really, you know. But to me, right is right. And if you go by the Constitution, you can't go by some parts of it. You have to go by all the parts, whatever it states, you know.
Yeah, you can't cherry pick.
Exactly, you know. So I hope one of these days matter of fact, I had spoken to Mr. Miller also concerning it, and he was, you know, wanted me to send him some stuff too concerning the whole layout of the whole properties and stuff, you know. But like I say, you know, I hope one of these days we get to work it out all out and come to some kind of reasonable agreement, because definitely as long as the police station is there, they go always use my property. You know, they have to pass through it to get to there. It's comfortable. You know, and you know, I don't want to make no big ruckus about it, but the facts are the facts, and I just want them to acknowledge that this is what took place and to sort of compensate me in some place, in some way.
And you don't want to block the access like how some of the people in Grand Cayman block the beach access, right? You don't want to block the access for that.
Exactly. But you know, they have an easement through our property to get to their property. You know.
Okay. That's a registered easement.
Yes, that is there. You know. But the other part that I'm talking about was 4 parking spaces that they continuously use that is on the property that they felt like because they have the easement, they can park. I said, no. I said, easement is an 11-foot easement that you have here, and that is where you're entitled to, and that's where you have access. That over there is a different arrangement, you know? So the 11-foot easement is a lot different from 4 parking spaces on the other side of it, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, man. So... But, see, you know, I think the Cayman Islands, according to some information I got, we rated in the top 3 at least when it comes to this, looking after this
COVID-19.
COVID-19, you know? I think that's remarkable.
Yeah,
you know?
and did an excellent job in Cayman Brac. I think, you know, what they did over there in terms of restricting the travel and stuff like that, that was a positive move, you know, for the people of Cayman Brac.
Yeah, man, I tell you, really, it really, you know, sometimes I have the feeling for you guys down there. I mean, you know, we can go out and we can, you know, you should maintain in the 6 foot or try to. You know, some people...
We'll soon get to where you are, too. We just have to be patient. We have to, you know, the numbers that are coming in now in terms of the testing. The one thing that I am a little bit concerned about, it seems as if the requests for testing, the number of requests has dropped quite a bit since businesses were allowed to open up. And what we would want to urge people to do is to continue to go in, do your voluntary testing, have that done, because if you are asymptomatic or whatever, you need to know. It is important to know, because you run the risk of exposing family members and friends, loved ones to the virus as well. So people should continue to do the voluntary testing.
Yeah. But also, a question, what about the people that were on permits that went home, and now when they're coming back, now what's the protocol on that?
Well, the protocol appears to be that they're going to have to quarantine for 14 days, and it's going to be at their expense, or I guess at the expense of their employer, but certainly not the expense of the government.
Exactly.
And I would imagine that when we do open up our borders, that we simply won't just open them up. We would have some sort of travel registration process like other countries have, where you hopefully it'll be electronic, similar to what you do when you're applying for an ESTA to go into the United States or to Canada. You do it online. It is processed, and then you're given authorization to return to the Cayman Islands. And then, of course, when you are allowed to return, then you have to be put in quarantine as well. But you won't see for now as just opening up the airport and people can just come in as they please. That won't happen. Otherwise, we go right back to square one.
When you say quarantine, now that would be that area that they would quarantine, that would be approved by the government? Or
Yes.
They would tell them where you have to go.
Right. I think what they have determined is that this whole issue of self-quarantining is not working at all. We see in other jurisdictions it's not working. People are not being honest about it and everything, and they're exposing others.
Right. So, our grandson, he came home sometime, and, it was something to have to quarantine, but it was, I think he was able to, he was quarantined 14 days at home. I think so.
Okay.
But, where they were somewhere in the States there, and he graduated, I'm just long to see him, man.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yes.
Yeah, it's quite a trip. This is the longest I've been in a back now since I've been coming here.
You're a real Braca now, then.
Yeah. I didn't think they're going to issue me the papers. I'm not looking for that.
If you let the police cars continue to park there, maybe,
I gotta get some kind of new status arrangement for that one.
Yeah.
But it's nice though. I really like it.
It is.
Yeah, man, it's so relaxing. Yeah, we don't have no traffic jams and who's gonna run the right and who on the left.
How's the fishing going up there now? How's the fishing?
Why the guys that they've been going? I got some for my brother the other day. And I guess he was pretty happy.
Oh, the Jacks. You like the Jacks?
Yeah.
We won't call the name of the brother, but we know who he is.
Okay. Yeah. And I got some fish from one of the fishermen just after they open up. It was still munching on that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, man.
Great.
So,
all right, Lord Lynn.
These days,
you take care.
When I send him something, I'll send you something.
Okay, look forward to it. Look forward to it. Stay safe up there now, you and the family.
Okay, take care, man.
Okay. Folks, almost 8:30. I just want to give you a preview of something that I'm going to share with you. I have two things. I want to share something from the Tradewinds newspaper, but I also want to share something with you from the BBC News. As you know, the situation in Hong Kong has changed. The law that was passed in Hong Kong, and it gives the Chinese government greater control over Hong Kong, and it has criminalized certain things. Has legal ramifications. I won't get into that because I would have to look up for the details of that. But what we have seen recently, and this was only published on BBC 13 minutes ago, that the UK will now make a citizen, or has made a citizenship offer to Hong Kong residents. As you know, in 1997 when Hong Kong was handed over to China, and prior to that, there were various types of British citizenship that people received. In Hong Kong, they've been sort of separated into various groups. But I'll share it in an article with you. What they've done basically, and I was offered citizenship to more Hong Kong residents who didn't have it before, and I want to sort of like compare that looking at, again, the UK looking out for their own. Compare that to what they did with the Windrush generation in the Caribbean as well. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
We all know there's nothing more refreshing than the taste of an ice-cold Coca-Cola straight from the cooler.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Whether it's celebrating a birthday, promotion, or just a great meal, make each moment a Coca-Cola moment.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Make sure you ask for the unforgettable flavor of a classic Coca-Cola.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
The Toyota Thon 2020 event is going on now at Vamped Motors. Get our lowest prices of the year on a great selection of our most popular Toyotas, with big savings on the new CHR Hybrid, the 7-seater Rush, the adventurous RAV4, the rugged Hilux truck, and more. You can drive home an amazing deal. Save up to $5,000. Take the full discount, get cash back, upgrade your vehicle with your savings. It's all your choice during our huge Toyota Thon sales event going on through July. Don't miss out. Come to Vamped Motors for your new Toyota. Let's go places.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio yet, but on short notice, we're going to have Mr. Vaughn Carter, the chairperson of the Cayman Islands Constitutional Commission, on the line with us later on in the show after 9 o'clock headline news. We do have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine, and the West, where's the best? And I want to say condolence to Mr. Miller and his family. O.C., what I'm calling about, right? You may disagree with me, or maybe you might join my hand with it.
Okay.
I've been hearing on this talk show and other talk shows about our heritage and culture. Now, and people not coming here using it. Well, first of all, do we have anything written that we got a culture? No. Unless we get it written, put in school that our children would know that they will be able to go on and tell it to other people that comes here. First of all, what happened to Dr. Steve, Dr. Frank, Gilbert, Roy, Teresa, and Mary Lawrence? Why can't they not write the history for our people and our children? Also, do you realize, you know what, really, I've been hearing it, and really what brought, I say, you know, I got to call this talk show, when we go away, we don't even wear the color of our national dresses. We wear Jamaica plaid. Our plaid is that blue. Now, I am wondering who do all of this kind of foolishness. Do they study? Do they look? I mean, see, something has to be done. this our culture. We need to put it back to back with pen and pencil and stop talking about, oh, the foreigners come here and the foreigners do. No, the foreigners bring their culture because we don't have any.
Well, caller, I have one question and an observation for you. Do you think that we, as Caymanians, to a certain extent, until such time as we are in control of our own destiny, we have the right of self-determination, that we are not the subjects of another individual, the subjects of another country? Do you think that we are likely to emphasize our culture and our heritage as much if we look at ourselves as it's like you living at home with your parents? You reach that age and you get married, or you decide maybe not to get married, but you leave, you build or you buy your own house, and you're independent. Your view on life, even some of those children who like their mother's cooking and go back to get some of that cooking, occasionally, you feel there's a completely different feeling when you're on your own than when you're in your parents' house. And I use that analogy to say that we're still a colony. Mr. Mickelhursten likes to continue to say that we're a colony. The nice word for it, the nice word is an overseas territory, but we're a colony. We're subjects of someone else. And until we see ourselves as being full-blooded Caymanian in control of our own destiny, all of those other things will then line up and come into play. I believe that's why it's not happening now.
Well, I think it's time for it to happen. We cannot wait till the older people die off. Then we will see have a mixed culture. It'll be like a melting pot. And we need to do it now. Why did the education ministers and past and present, why didn't they look after this? We got our politicians to blame, a lot. Because, let me tell you this, I have brought Pirate Sweet. I have brought Master Banu to some of them. You know what they tell me? We're not interested in that. Why are you running if you're not interested in that culture? That gives you the opportunity to have more power over things than me and say, look, this is what we're going to do. This is our culture. We're going to do our, not bring in somebody else. But they turn their backs to it, and then they do whatever they want to do. They bring in whoever they want to do. Do you realize that we are the only Caribbean country that do not have plaid dresses, and they're not even, copyright, I would say. They're not even copyright like the rest of the countries. I mean, what happened to all of this? But we can't continue talking. We have the people who are capable of doing it. Let's get them to do it. I don't know too much history like Esme, because that's all she ever studied was a book. I studied cotton. So it's two different heads. But we have to, and that's like all about the beach, going to the beach and everything. We need to do something, and we need to hold our politicians accountable. And something, you never see them until election. You never hear them. And all of a sudden now you see on your laptop or your Facebook or wherever it is, must remember to register to vote. I bet you can see that.
Okay.
Now they need to start doing something for us, Caymania. We can't afford to go give them an axe, and by the time we give them an axe, they go on to the rich man or whoever he is and do their culture, get their money, and forget about us. And now we can't even go on the beaches. Come on, OC. It is getting to where a riot is going to start here. It's going to start with the young people. Trust me, because I hear them talking. And you see this election that come in 2021, some of them can run. It's not going to be so bad. But you see the next 4 years after that, you're going to see some young people. You see all these people that hoofing around giving fridge store with money. They're going to be eliminated eventually. Do you know it was the young people who mostly signed for that dog? And I had a lot of talking with them. Because, you know, my grandson, I take him up and down when he's here.
Mm-hmm.
And
We're running out of time. We're running out of time.
Yeah, you got to hear them talking about it. And it is time for us to put it in black and white and get our traditional dresses.
Yep.
Come on now, Oti.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you. Got you on it. Those traditional dresses that we're talking about, we're seeing history being rewritten throughout the world. We see statutes coming down as well. Remember, it's the victor who gets the opportunity, who writes the history. And maybe we have to start to rewrite and look at our history here in the Cayman Islands and do some revisions as well. You hear Miss Theresa and everyone talking about the story of Long Celia and all of those. Remember now, there was a time when we were reading those ABC books and talking about Bernanke and all of those, you know, other things as well. That's what they taught us at one point in time. So that revisionist history in the Cayman Islands may need to take place. And those dresses, those plaid dresses, they may go out as well, because are they a sign of subjugation? Are they a sign of slavery? Did the ruling class in the Cayman Islands wear those plaid dresses, or were it the slave class in the Cayman Islands, the underprivileged, that wore those plaid dresses as well? We need a complete review of our history here in the Cayman Islands as well. One WhatsApp message, but before we go to that, so we talked about Hong Kong, and you know, of course, Hong Kong has now put in place. The Chinese government has put in place a new anti-protest law, and they have made their first arrest in that regard. So now let's look at the story now about the citizenship for Hong Kong residents. And it says here that the up to 3 million Hong Kong residents are to be offered the chance to settle in the United Kingdom and ultimately apply for citizenship, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said. Prime Minister said Hong Kong's freedoms were being violated by a new security law, and those affected would be offered a quote-unquote route out of the former UK colony. About 350,000 UK passport holders and 2.6 million others eligible will be able to come to the United Kingdom for 5 years. And after a further year, they will be able to apply for citizenship. So 5 years, and on the 6th year, they will be able to apply for citizenship. At the moment, British National Overseas Passport, that's what many people in Hong Kong hold, British National Overseas Passport. They have restricted rights and are only entitled to visa-free access to the United Kingdom for 6 months. Under the government's plan, all British overseas nationals and their dependents will be given the right to remain in the UK, including the right to work for 5 years. At this point, they will be able to apply for settled status, and after a further year, seek citizenship. So here again, we see the UK looking after kith and kin. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but fair must be fair. So they're looking out for 350,000 plus another 1.6 million to give them the right of abode in the UK and eventually to apply for citizenship. After World War II, when the Empire Windrush, loaded with passengers from Jamaica, Trinidad, Bermuda, and my last reading said that they even brought people from Mexico, some British citizens from Mexico as well, into the UK. We found some of those Windrush generation were deported afterwards. Some went to visit family in Jamaica and other places. And when it's time for them to return to the UK, told they can't return because they weren't UK citizens. A few years ago, this was a big thing. They still haven't made the compensations that they should be making to the Windrush generation. But here, they're extending this to their kith and kin in Hong Kong. Like I said, nothing wrong with it. But as usual, we see the United Kingdom treating the people who they subjugated, treating them quite differently depending on what their ethnic origin or the national origin in it is as well. We have two callers. Let's go to the phone lines. Ms. Susan, you want to take the break first? Yeah, we're going to take a break, and then we will take those callers as soon as we return. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Recent worldwide events bring into focus the need for quality health care. Your life is meaningful. Your health is no laughing matter. Cayman Pharmacy Group strives to make your health their concern. Recognizing the complexities of pharmaceuticals and the need to personalize your care with one-on-one counseling. West Bay Pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, and CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Visit CaymanPharmacy.com for more information. Cayman Pharmacy Group, taking care of your health.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have two callers on hold. Let's go to the phone lines. First caller. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, Mr. Connor. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I am. Loud and clear.
Okay, good. You raised a good topic this morning. You use the word self-determination. Tell me, are you in the line, the head of the line? If it comes tomorrow morning, you will be one of the first man to say, yes, I'm ready to put my finger in the ink or to sign my name down for self-determination.
Yes, sir. I just hope that before they put me 6 feet under, that someone does something about me just being a subject of somebody else. I want to be buried a free man.
Because I hear you preach this years and years, self-determination. But I'm wondering if a vast majority of the population of this country understand what you're talking about, because you're not using the right terms, what is publicly known. So I am trying to figure if they know that. Until we get that, we are like little children in our mother's yard. You know that?
Yes.
And we can, our little chickens round the end, and she scratch, and we eat food. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not afraid to use the I word, the independent word. You know, of course, that sometimes scares people off, but eventually you're going to have to say it.
Yes, and you think we are ready for that? You think that we are 120% ready for for self-determination.
We are as ready as we will ever be. I read an article in the Royal Gazette, the Bermuda newspaper, a few days ago. They had a referendum in 1995, independence referendum, which those four independents lost. That was 1995, 25 years ago. And the argument then was we need to educate the people some more. Does it take 25 years to educate a people in terms of your right to be free and to determine your own future? Does it take 25 years? We've been saying the same thing here in the Cayman Islands. How long is it going to take for us to educate our people? When is the education going to start? Because we keep saying that we're going to do it, but no one ever starts to do it.
But we've been saying it for 40 years now.
Yes.
And I don't understand the people don't even talk about it. Talk over here a conversation. You're the only man I hear publicly determine and talk about self-determination.
And you know why? You know why I call it? Because many people are comfortable in their own skin because they're living a good life. Making money, have a good house, children going schooling. They see that as what freedom means to them. But if the mental chains have not been released and those shackles been taken off, you will never be free, no matter how much worldly things you accumulate.
I would love to see you become the first Governor General for the Cayman Islands. I think you deserve that position. The first Governor General. And I just said governor now, you know.
Yes. Well, thanks for your vote of confidence. Thanks for your vote of confidence.
There's a difference between Governor General and governor.
Yes.
Only a native son of the soil or a daughter of the soil can be a Governor General.
Yes.
And you is qualified, overqualified for that position. May God bless you. Continue to do the good work. And you have a nice day, Mr. Connor.
Thank you. You do the same as well, and stay safe. Let's go to the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm not bad, and you?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah. I think you know me, Mr. Connor. I want to call and congratulate my grandson, Seth Bullings. That goes to Catholic school.
Okay.
During the pandemic. He 3 B's in his tests, 10 A's, and out of the 10 A's is two of them are A+.
Wow, that is great. I know his mom, Kim, must feel extremely proud as well. Yeah.
I tell you, I am his grandfather, and I live over in the Brook right now. And I am so proud of him. He's supposed to be coming up when they can travel, and I'm just waiting for him to get over here so me and him can go fishing and enjoy.
Give him a good treat, right? Yes.
Because he loves fishing too.
Yeah. How old is Seth now?
He just turned 15 last month.
Wow. Good future ahead of him if he keeps that up. Yes, great.
I tell him to keep the good works up because without a good education, you can't go nowhere.
Yep, that's so true.
Okay, Mr. Connor.
Okay, thank you very much. Again,
very much.
Big shout out to Seth. Congratulations. We know his mother, Miss Kim, quite keen on ensuring that he gets a good education, and she can be very strict as well. Yeah.
Okay, then.
All right, you take care. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day too.
Okay, folks, we still have about 5 minutes left. I wanted to share. I hope I find that now. Very quickly, Miss Susan. Oh, another caller. Let's take the caller then. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, O.C.
Morning. How's it going?
Oh, it's beautiful in the Brock here. Reviving of the Bar of Poison.
Yeah. You mentioned that the last time that you called, and I know how that is. I had it about 2 or 3 times myself, so I know how that is.
Oh yeah, not neither. But I want to talk to you about. I hear you bringing up the word for the independent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see. You know the 3 arms of the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know them?
The traditional ones that you're talking about, the executive.
The 3 arms of the government. How our government is run, the 3 arms of it.
Yes.
Tell me.
The executive, legislative, and the judicial.
Good. Well, I have asked some civil servants that have been working for the government for 15, 20 years. I said, tell me the 3 arms of the government. They tell me the church. They tell me that. I said, look here, you got a political arm. They're the one that we vote in.
Mm-hmm.
You got a judicial arm.
Mm-hmm.
They're the one we run the law. And you got the executive arm. They're the one we spend the money. The politician votes in the money.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the executive arm raises the money. And the judicial arm, right? Okay, we're talking about independence now, about the OC. Remember, your laws is the most important part of any foundation, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who run our judicial system?
Well,
they run by Jamaica. They got Cayman status now. But every one of them in their position are Jamaicans. So when we talk about independent, and we're not going to bother that even in those positions.
But who do we blame for that, caller? Who do we blame?
We blame ourselves because we're not educating our people. What you talking about?
Well, we are educating our people. But tell me, we do see some Caymanians now gravitating, towards judicial administration and things of that nature. But many of the Caymanians who are qualified in the law choose to remain in private practice where it is much more lucrative because they're more concerned about their well-being and their family's well-being than necessarily, about how justice is administered.
Yeah, well.
I know those are strong words, and some people may take offense to it, but that's my view.
See, that is the truth, and nothing but the truth, my brother. They can't come out of that. I mean, really. And look at OC, I was telling, because I would listen, and I would listen to Ms. Reba about our culture. Look, we can't blame our culture because we let it go and blame it on England. Look, listen to me, OC, my friend. You know the great thing, one of our big tourist draws, you have a Cayman cookout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was talking to Mose, the minister in charge of tourism, because I sit down and have a really good conversation, hour and a half, 2 hours. And I said, Mose, because I read a lot, who won it and all the different chefs and things. I said, Mose, I never seen one picture with fish and fritters. I never seen nobody doing a coconut rundown. I never seen nobody with almond candies, coconut drops. I didn't see one traditional plate of Cayman food. I seen some names that I can't pronounce them. Big old name with all kind of fancy thing. I said, more instead of saying Cayman cookout, it should be renamed cookout in Cayman because I don't see no Cayman food. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Mm-hmm.
No, tell me something now. Who's stopping that? I mean, the line, we don't come around and say you can't cook your coconut. No, tell me something now. You go to every little restaurant that Jamaican go, right? And I bet you can find your Arkan saltfish. You live on onions. You fry fish and fit on thing. Tell me something. And we got a lot of restaurants in the Cayman Islands, right? Which restaurant that you can go to that you can say, I want a plate of coconut dinner where you get your salt beef, your dumpling, your breadfruit and thing? I asked a restaurant owner one time, I said, well, you don't cook this? Boy, I got black gas, but who can run restaurant order that? I say, do you know when the tourists come? The tourists want to eat Cayman food.
Native food, yeah.
But they don't get that.
Yeah.
They don't get that. And, see, when we talk about our culture, it's only us can keep that alive, you know.
Yes, culture is learned behavior. But a caller, we reached the 9 o'clock news, so I have to interrupt you, but we have to go at 9 o'clock. We have a guest coming on talking about Constitution, so keep tuned to Radio Cayman 89.9 FM. Lots to talk about, folks. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on Island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The members of the official opposition have extended their, quote, sincere condolences to Ezard Miller, MLA, and his siblings on the passing of their mother, Mrs. Mary Miller. Mrs. Mary was known to the members of the opposition, and they say they are, quote, deeply saddened by the announcement of her passing. As coronavirus outbreaks are slowly brought to heel in many places around the world, the United States is among a handful of countries facing a new surge of infections. More than 24 states are now seeing increases in new cases over the last 14 days. Of these, Florida, Texas, Arizona, and California have emerged as the country's latest virus epicenters. But while cases are clearly rising, state leaders and health experts are divided on the cause. Hong Kong police have made their first arrest under a new, quote, anti-protest law imposed by Beijing as crowds march 23 years since the end of British rule. 9 people were held accused of violating the law, including a man with a pro-independence flag. More than 300 others were detained at a ban rally. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going to be linking up with Mr. Vaughn Carter in a few minutes. Meanwhile, one of our listeners has written in and said, "Good morning. I have a question. When you are a disabled person, is that person entitled to first preference?" Just as everyone else. As a matter of fact, yeah, in some instances, disabled persons, we make special arrangements, for them. I think we have a disability law in the Cayman Islands as well. I'll double check that also. But we also see, for instance, that there were days when you built buildings for public access or whatever, and no provisions were made for to accommodate disabled persons. So we see all of that happening as well. Now, whether or not we have gone far enough, as far as accommodating disabled persons is another question. But definitely disabled persons in the Cayman Islands should be, and in some instances are given preference as well. Okay, so one of our another listener has written in and said our culture is diverse, a mixture of Jamaica and Cayman. I think because of our educators, this type of culture is forever. I think because of our background, and not only our educators, but others as well. Our school children perform songs and skits of the beautiful mixture enjoyed by all during K-Fest, school concerts, and other events as well. So I just wanted to share that with you from a listener. And now we're going to the phone lines. We have Mr. Vaughn Carter on the line, and Mr. Vaughn Carter, who is the chairman of the Cayman Islands Constitutional Commission, and Mr. Carter is a public law specialist with international academic credentials and practical local knowledge. He's a former senior lecturer in constitutional law, constitutional and administrative law. I'm going to read some more in terms of Mr. Carter's credentials before I invite him. European Union law and immigration law at the Cayman Islands Law School. He has recently been a visiting professor at the University of Alabama in the United States. Mr. Carter served as a senior civil servant in the ministry with responsibility for education, and he has been appointed to numerous public bodies ranging from the Human Rights Committee and the Gender Equality Tribunal to the National Pensions Board and the Special Economic Zone Authority. He is currently in private practice focusing on public law. He initially became a member of the commission in 2015. Mr. Carter was appointed as a commission member from January 2015 to June 2016, at which time he was appointed as chair for a period of 4 years. Mr. Carter, good morning, sir. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor. It's a pleasure to be here once again, and good morning to your listening audience.
Thank you for being here at such short notice. Monday is coming around again. Tell us about it, sir.
Monday is indeed Constitution Day, and before I take the kind opportunity to talk about Constitution Day, may I begin by expressing the condolences of the Constitutional Commission to the Miller family. I know that Mr. Ezard Miller had due to be with you today, and it's in these sad circumstances that I am now joining you and joining your listening audience. But it is an important issue, and indeed one that Mr. Ezard Miller has accompanied me, along with the Honourable Premier, on previous occasions on your radio show to talk about the Constitution. And there is no better time than this week, with the public holiday on Monday for Constitutional Day, to talk about the Constitution and to talk about the work of the Constitutional Commission, particularly given that we've experienced a period where there hasn't been a lot of activity amongst certain elements of society, but things continue and constitutional issues continue and constitutional issues have arisen. So I thought it was an excellent opportunity to talk with you, to explain the holiday,
yes,
and to explain some of the issues that have arisen with the Constitution and arisen with the Constitutional Commission in this very strange period that we're now going through.
Certainly, and we welcome that. We'll let you keep the mic. I will only interrupt when I feel that it is necessary, or if we have to go to a commercial break. Mr. Carter, go right ahead, sir. Continue.
Okay, Mr. Connor, but I always value and welcome your interventions, so please don't let me drone on unnecessarily.
Oh, no, I will. Don't worry about that. I will.
I know, sir. So I think, first of all, Constitution Day is the first Monday in July.
Yes.
So it will fall on the 6th. It is to commemorate the first Cayman Islands Constitution that was adopted on the 4th of July in 1959. So the 4th of July is the key date, but the first Monday is the public holiday to celebrate this.
Right.
I anticipate that the Constitutional Commission will be putting out a press release in advance of the Monday holiday, and I'm hoping that what can be agreed is a slightly larger update than a regular press release that identifies some of the key issues that have occurred in recent times and that the Constitutional Commission is now in a position to comment on. I think firstly, in terms of a little bit of housekeeping, I should say that the Constitutional Commission has 2 new members as of the start of this year. I'm fortunate to be joined on the 3-member commission now by Dr. Christopher Williams, whom many of your listeners will know from UCCI.
Yes.
And Miss Sophia Harris, who I'm sure is known to all of your listeners as an extremely experienced local practitioner. It's a nice piece of symmetry to be joined by Miss Harris because it's nearly over 20 years ago, she and I worked together on the Chamber of Commerce's constitutional panel when the when the amendment to the Constitution, which ultimately led to the 2009 Constitution, was first mooted. And as you'll recall, Mr. Connor, that was a 10-year marathon that we went through. So Ms. Harris and I go back to that committee along with the Chamber of Commerce representatives and Mr. Adam and the late and much missed Pastor Al.
That's correct. That's correct.
So we have some new blood, as it were, and I think we're fortunate to have that. Dr. Williams has a great appreciation of Kamanian history and has written extensively on that. And indeed, his doctorate thesis was on that. Ms. Harris, experienced lawyer and a keen interest in the Constitution. And you may recall that she actually went to the UN and spoke about the Cayman Islands Constitution at the UN and rights associated with the future of the Cayman Islands.
That's correct.
Those members replace, and I would like to take this opportunity to publicly thank Miss Natalie Urquhart and Mr. Oliver Watler, who were formerly the members of the Constitutional Commission. And during their tenure, we achieved some notable landmarks, including the audio and braille versions of the Constitution that are now available and accessible, as well as the publication of a report in June 2018 in which the Constitutional Commission commented on potential revisions to the Cayman Islands Constitution. That, to my mind, is an important document for a number of reasons. Firstly, because in my experience, it was the first time that the Constitutional Commission was engaged expressly to comment and to advise the government and the governor and indeed the leader of the opposition. Previously, what the Commission has been doing is more acting of its own volition, trying to educate and inform and intervene with proposals where it seemed appropriate. But I think this is clearly a partnership, and the idea is that the Commission should be engaged where necessary. So that was the first time in my experience that had happened. So that ensuing report was important.
Got you. Go right ahead. Still.
And the report itself fed into the potential or proposed amendments to the Constitution. Listeners may recall that this has been a subject of some discussion since the actions of the United Kingdom Parliament in passing legislation that directly impacted on domestic issues within the Cayman Islands.
Right.
And the ensuing discussion and debate, which has been a productive one, I believe, surrounds the level of autonomy that the local government should have versus the United Kingdom. And I caught briefly some of the commentary in the previous hour of your show, and one of the topics of of discussion is about precisely that. What level of autonomy does the Cayman Islands have, or what level of autonomy should the Cayman Islands have? Should the Cayman Islands continue to have a constitutional relationship with the UK? And how does that look in the context of a modern constitution? And the proposed amendments to the constitution will increase local autonomy, will increase the powers of the elected government in connection with certain issues that have traditionally remained the preserve of the governor, or have been controlled by the United Kingdom, whether by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office or otherwise.
Okay. Mr. Carter, we're going to take a commercial break, but I'm going to leave you with a thought so that when we return from the commercial break, you can respond to it as well. And that would be to explain or to get your views on a constitution and advancing of a constitution. We have heard in the past that Bermuda's constitution was a pre-independent constitution. And the UK has continued to use that argument whenever we try to press the envelope as far as constitutional change is concerned. Just recently in the British Virgin Islands, and they're going through a constitution, they're slated to go through a constitutional review process, we see the Premier in the British Virgin Islands stating that he wants the civil service to be brought under an elected minister. So I'd like you to reflect on that, as well as to talk about this pre-independence constitution and what it is and how far we can go in terms of constitutional change without necessarily reaching the stage of full independence. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
We all know there's nothing more refreshing than the taste of an ice-cold Coca-Cola straight from the cooler.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Whether it's celebrating a birthday, promotion, or just a great meal, make each moment a Coca-Cola moment.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Make sure you ask for the unforgettable flavor of a classic Coca-Cola.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Recent worldwide events bring into focus the need for quality health care. Your life is meaningful. Your health is no laughing matter. Cayman Pharmacy Group strives to make your health their concern. Recognizing the complexities of pharmaceuticals and the need to personalize your care with one-on-one counseling. West Bay Pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, and CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Visit CaymanPharmacy.com for more information. Cayman Pharmacy Group, taking care of your health.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It's my pleasure to have on the line with us this morning Mr. Vaughn Carter, who's the chairman of the Cayman Islands Constitutional Commission here in the Cayman Islands. Mr. Carter, hope I didn't throw too much at you at one time there, sir.
No, Mr. Connor, that's absolutely fine. And just to recap, in case anybody joined in the break, you were asking about the Bermudan Constitution and the particular anomaly with the Bermudan Constitution, and whether or not there is scope for the Cayman Islands to progress down the route that maybe Bermuda went, or alternatively along a different route, but with further constitutional advancement. And you cited the example in the British Virgin Islands of the suggestion that the civil service ought to fall under an elected minister.
Yes.
I think it's always useful to understand the historical context. And as I say, in my experience, the 10-year process that led up to the 2009 Constitution ultimately resulted in a number of significant constitutional advances for the Cayman Islands. Along the way, there were various other suggestions. In 2002, 2003, the locally appointed Constitutional Commission had proposed a new constitution, but ultimately it was felt that didn't go far enough, and that we were still largely using the framework from the 1972 Constitution, and we needed a significant change. And 2009 did ultimately bring a significant change.
Yes.
The introduction of the Bill of Rights, the appointment of a local deputy governor, a reduction in the governor's powers, and increasing in locally elected government's powers. We also saw the introduction of a Minister of Finance, but of course replaced the Financial Secretary, who was previously both a member of the Legislative Assembly and a member of Cabinet. And that was important because it represented a maturing of our local system of governance and of the Constitution. And much like the BVI proposal for bringing the civil service under an elected minister, we took precisely that type of step with financial affairs. So ultimately, the Minister of Finance is answerable to the people for the finances of the country through the Legislative Assembly, or what will come to be known as the Parliament, if and when the amendment to the Constitution is passed.
Right.
So we have taken those types of steps. The issue, I think, with the civil service is that in small jurisdictions, there is always a concern that the civil service could become politicized. So whilst it's inherently important to have accountability to the people for the finances of the country, the civil service raises slightly different problems in the sense of trying to maintain its independence. That's always been a core principle, at least historically, of the British system in which we have taken large elements of in our constitution.
But Mr. Carter, if I may interrupt you there, hasn't that changed slightly in the UK just recently with the removal of Sir Mark Sedwill, I think his name is, right, as the National Security Advisor, as well as the Cabinet Secretary, even though eventually they will appoint another Cabinet Secretary to oversee the civil service. But in the UK, we see the politicians having control over that process. While we're much smaller than the UK is, we're all human beings at the same time. Should a Boris Johnson have that type of authority and power, but not an Alden McLaughlin or some other, or Arden McLean or an Ezard Miller have in the Cayman Islands, irrespective of our size?
You read my mind, which was precisely the point I was going to go on to make, that the traditional approach has in recent times been eroded somewhat, even in the UK. There is a move which lessens or threatens the independence of the civil service. I don't think that that's necessarily settled yet. Now, clearly there's going to be a change in personnel, but as a constitutional principle, I still think that the UK's arrangements are in flux, and there is an evaluation that will need to be undertaken at some point. But insofar as the Cayman Islands is concerned, we've seen the shift with the Minister of Finance. This may well be another shift that we may want to consider, in which case we should weigh the advantages and the disadvantages, and in doing so, we can be guided by other jurisdictions, but we need to understand what our particular needs and requirements are.
Yes.
So we shouldn't just copy for the sake of it. We should evaluate in our particular context.
Got you.
I think returning to the broader point of general constitutional advancement and the position that Bermuda has historically found itself in my mind, when we achieved the 2009 Constitution, based on what had happened in the other overseas territories, Bermuda apart, and based on the approach of the UK to the issue of self-determination, my sense was at the time in 2009, this is about as far in terms of progress as the UK is likely to permit the Cayman Islands to go without talking about and setting an agenda for independence. The anomaly is Bermuda, and I think the anomaly in Bermuda arose in that there was an anticipation or an expectation that Bermuda was about to embark upon that independence journey, and the Constitution was amended slightly presumptuously before that final or that first step towards independence was taken, and ultimately Bermuda has not chosen to go independent, and it therefore has some of the advantages of a freer relationship with the UK and a greater position for the local government versus the UK, which particularly arises in the context of changes to the Constitution, which, as listeners will know, our Constitution can be changed by order in council, whereas their Constitution is an act of the UK Parliament and is therefore somewhat more difficult to change. Because it will give rise to greater public debate and discussion and transparency, and will also impact upon the UK Parliament's timetable and the limited time available there.
But if this pre-constitution that Bermuda has is still good for Bermuda without independence, why can't it be for other overseas territories as well? It's working now without independence, even though they say it's a pre-independence constitution. So if it works there, even though the Bermudans will tell you that there are some constitutional changes that we enjoy now that they would love to have as well. So like you said before, you have to design it to suit your particular circumstances. So maybe not everything that's in the Bermuda pre-independent constitution that we may want to have as well. But if it is still good fit for purpose for Bermuda, even though they don't have independence, and it is working, why can't some of those provisions be extended to the overseas territories, other overseas territories?
Well, to continue in answering that, to continue sort of the historical development, my first point was that the 2009 Constitution was probably as far as the UK was prepared to go. And this is because the UK took a particular approach to the right to self-determination, which is a core United Nations principle.
Yes.
And as far as the United Nations is concerned, self-determination can be achieved in primarily one of three ways. It can be achieved by way of independence, which is obviously a complete separation with the former colonial power. And until this point in time, that hasn't been proposed in the Cayman Islands or indeed any of the other overseas territories. It's a debate and a discussion we're having more and more, but there's been no formal proposal in that regard. The second option is integration, which is more the French option to its former colonies, integrating those colonies into the political system of the colonial power. So effectively, the overseas territory would have direct representation, in our case, in the UK's parliament. That really hasn't been a consideration or an option on the table for UK overseas territories, and it's not something that I have heard, in my experience, anybody express any particular interest in here. The third option, and the one that would provide more of a route towards the type of autonomy that Bermuda enjoys and the sort of pre-independence constitutional arrangements that you talk of, is a free association agreement, a negotiated agreement which provides all of the local autonomy but maintains perhaps a connection with the former colonial power for things like defence and some part of foreign affairs as well. The UK's approach to free association is that it didn't really want to put that on the table. It didn't really want, and I'm talking 2009, didn't really want to enable another Bermuda situation. So from the UK's perspective, that's a burden that it can't control. To use your analogy I heard earlier on in the show, the child has left the family home, but still has perhaps some relationship, but is unable to be controlled by the parents, as it were.
Right.
And so the UK's approach is it still wants to maintain as much control as it can, as much control as it needs, but at the same time supporting constitutional development and advancement and autonomy up to a certain level that the partnership will permit and allow. The caveat to that is I had thought that there wasn't much scope for advancement. The time is an educator, and in the subsequent 10 years, and in the particular case of the UK legislation dealing with publicly accessible beneficial ownership register, that created a situation in which a discussion was had regarding further autonomy. And if the amendment, the draft amendment that has been sent to the Cayman Islands government and has been unanimously approved by our Legislative Assembly with one caveat, is ultimately brought into effect, and every indication is that it will in due course be brought into effect, and probably, had it not been for the pandemic, would have been brought into effect. We would have seen a series of further steps that I didn't anticipate 10 years previous. So I think what one can learn from that is that where there are business cases to be made, and where it can be argued that it's legitimate and right and appropriate and supportable for further advancements, then the case can be made, and those advancements will be discussed and could be agreed and implemented.
Okay. Mr. Carter, we have to take a commercial break now. We're going to hold you right there. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
We all know there's nothing more refreshing than the taste of an ice-cold Coca-Cola straight from the cooler.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Whether it's celebrating a birthday, promotion, or just a great meal, make each moment a Coca-Cola moment.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling.
Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Make sure you ask for the unforgettable flavor of a classic Coca-Cola.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes, Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
It's not Toolfest at A.L. Thompson's, but it's almost as good. Toolfest has been an annual two-day event since 2009, but because of current events, there will be no live demos. But that's okay, because what will be at Not Toolfest is the deepest discounts of the year on select hand tools and power tools for 3 weeks. Save big on tools by Makita, Milwaukee, Bosch, Skill, Dremel, and other power brands, and get 15% off all items in the tools department now through July 4th. Remember that Father's Day is June 21st, so give them a big boy toy from A.L. Thompson's during Not Toolfest.
Attention parents and guardians. Don't forget that registration for students enrolling in or transferring to government schools for the 2020-21 school year closes on Friday, June 26. To register, please email edu.registration@gov.ky or call Mr. James Watler at 244-1841 or 916-3779. Or find the registration link on Facebook at Education Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have on the line with us Mr. Vaughn Carter, the chairperson of the Cayman Islands Constitution Commission here in the Cayman Islands. Mr. Carter, time goes so fast. We still have about another 24 minutes to go in the show, and we will take another break, a commercial break at about 9:45. I don't want to throw you off course. I want you to make sure that you cover all of those areas that you want to cover, but I also at some point in time would like you to comment too on the 17th of February 2020 response that you gave in terms of the proposed amendments to the Cayman Islands Constitution draft order in council as well.
Sure, Mr. Connor. And perhaps we could start there because it leads in naturally to a couple of the other points that I thought it would be useful to share with listeners this morning.
Okay.
So, insofar as the report that was submitted on the in February of this year, on the 17th of February 2020, the Constitutional Commission said a number of things. Firstly, that it supported the amendments contained in the draft order in council, largely for the reasons that we've been talking about, and in particular because it was a move towards greater local autonomy, and the Constitutional Commission considers this to be in the best interest and the best interest of the future of the Cayman Islands. So that's first and foremost a general vote of support for the draft order in council, which, as I indicated previously, has been unanimously approved by the Legislative Assembly and has been given endorsements by other civic bodies. The second point that the Commission made in that explanatory note was that there are a number of areas in our current Constitution that we need to consider. And in particular, we need to consider these because some of these haven't been fully implemented. And if you look through our Constitution, there are a number of areas where the Constitution talks about or anticipates what I might term supplementary or additional legislation. And there are three ways in which our Constitution refers to this supplementary legislation. Sometimes it says that the government or the Parliament may introduce this. Sometimes it says that the government or the Legislative Assembly should introduce this. And sometimes it is more, it is stronger, and it says that it shall produce this. Now, what the Constitutional Commission notes is that there are examples where we have not done or not implemented any supplementary legislation. There are examples where we have passed legislation but not brought into effect, or it has been delayed in being brought into effect. And perhaps the most poignant example is the legislation relating to standards in public life.
Yes.
That was delayed but has latterly and recently been brought into effect, and the Constitutional Commission welcomes that. And hopes that might be the impetus for pausing and looking at the 2009 Constitution and going through it methodically and saying, well, here's the areas where supplementary legislation was essential. It's not there. Well, we need to prioritise that and make sure that it is there. And a good example of that might be in relation to advisory
district councils, yes.
We have legislation on the books, but I think it probably needs to be reviewed in the light of the introduction of single-member constituencies and whether or not that is fit for purpose. But that can't just sit there waiting and waiting. It's an important part of the Constitution, and one would expect it to be introduced in due course, and at least there to be a process whereby these things are under review. And I think the Constitution Commission says that in the sense of not just that things where the Constitution says they shall be introduced, but even where they should be, or even less perhaps where they may be, even if that's considered to be optional, we should at least have some reflection upon that periodically to say, well, in 2015 we didn't think it was necessary, but we bookmarked that and we've come back to that in 2020, and we're going to at least look at it again.
Because, Mr. Carter, as far as the advisory district councils are concerned, what it has done, it has, by the legislation that we have and not fully implementing it, it has stymied public participation in the democratic life of this country.
Yes, and the Constitutional Commission has noted this in press releases previously. I think in previous years on International Democracy Day for the reason precisely that you have noted. But these advisory district councils were envisaged in the 2009 Constitution to provide the people of the Cayman Islands with an opportunity to directly engage on a local level with issues that affect them perhaps more personally than are able to be discussed and aired fully in the Legislative Assembly. In my time in government, I often, in working in the civil service, often used to remark that in the Cayman Islands, one can be dealing with the United Nations on one call, and on the next, you're dealing with a very practical and individual problem from a particular district in one of the three Cayman Islands. It is that diverse. And in that sense, the Legislative Assembly will deal with local issues, but it has a national agenda. So I think the advisory district councils were anticipated to provide an opportunity, perhaps for less partisan engagement on a local level that would advise and inform the members of the Legislative Assembly and indeed others in the community as to what the local needs might be. A question might be, do we need advisory district councils to reflect and mirror each individual single-member constituency, or would the advisory district councils be better with the old traditional districts, where they might be able to build that district identity or reflect that district identity, and then could inform all of the various representatives that have constituencies within that district. Now, I appreciate that East End and North Side have long been single-member constituencies, but Bodden Town and Georgetown and West Bay are very different to that. And of course, the sister islands are slightly different as well. So we shifted to single-member constituencies. We have a statute for advisory district councils on the statute book. It's not been brought into force. We've had this development. Maybe we need to be looking at that statute again and looking at finding a way for introducing this opportunity for more local engagement.
Okay, we're going to take our last commercial break. Mr. Carter, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Toyota Thon 2020 event is going on now at Vamped Motors. Get our lowest prices of the year on a great selection of our most popular Toyotas with big savings on the new CHR Hybrid, the 7-seater Rush, the adventurous RAV4, the rugged Hilux truck, and more. You can drive home an amazing deal. Save up to $5,000. Take the full discount, get cash back, upgrade your vehicle with your savings. It's all your choice during our huge Toyota Thon sales event going on through July. Don't miss out. Come to Vamped Motors for your new Toyota. Let's go places.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
As the community continues to take precautions from COVID-19, it is important to stay prepared for other disasters now that we're in the hurricane season. Here are some post-hurricane safety tips from the Department of Environmental Health. Some tinned food items may still be safe for consumption after contact with flood water. However, tins must then be immersed in a solution made of 2 tablespoons of chlorine bleach per gallon of water for 10 minutes. Ensure that containers are air-dried before opening. For full guidance on post-hurricane safety tips, visit www.deh.gov.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. On the line with us, Mr. Vaughn Carter, the chairman of the Cayman Islands Constitutional Commission here in the Cayman Islands. Mr. Carter, we have about 12 minutes left, and I'm going to hand the mic back over to you. And at the end, I want you to take an opportunity to tell us what you would like the people of the Cayman Islands to reflect on Constitution Day on Monday, what we should reflect on in relation to our Constitution as well, sir.
Mr. Connor, thank you very much for that opportunity. I think we could usefully discuss one additional point.
Sure. Yeah. We still have about 12 minutes left, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's useful to point out that there have been a couple of high-profile cases, constitutional cases, working their way through the Cayman Islands courts system. I think predominantly they are the port referendum case and the marriage equality case.
Yes.
They are both under appeal. In the case, in the port referendum case, where I think we're expecting the Court of Appeal to hand down a decision sometime soon. And the marriage equality case is on further appeal to our final Court of Appeal, which is the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council.
Yes.
So we must be sensitive to the fact that those matters are ongoing. And I would also add, by way of caveat, that particularly as regards the marriage equality case, that involves issues of fundamental human rights, to which the Constitutional Commission would, usually defer to the Human Rights Commission in the Constitution. So today, I don't particularly, I won't be getting into the substantive issues of those two cases for those reasons. But I would urge listeners to follow them, not just because they are important and they are significant, but also in the context of what they both have to say about the relationship between two of our branches of government. And I heard you answer our friend from Cayman Brack earlier about the branches of government.
Yes.
And you rightly referred to the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. And both of these cases will inform and will shape the constitutional relationship between our legislative branch of government and our judicial branch.
Yes, yes.
And they will, as I say, shape that relationship, I suspect, for some time to come. And the debate that's being had in these cases is a debate that all constitutional democracies have. And to put it in very simple terms, it's really about who has the final say in a constitutional democracy. Is it the legislature that is democratically elected by the people, or is it the judiciary who is independent and is not subject to the majoritarian principle and therefore is potentially able to protect the Constitution and to protect the rights of minorities? Now, these are both persuasive points, and the Constitution has to balance those.
Yes.
And the marriage equality case is really is in part about the issue of whether or not pre-existing laws can be reinterpreted by the courts. Or when I say pre-existing, I mean laws that predate the Constitution.
Yes.
Or whether or not the courts have to refer that back to the legislature to address. Mm-hmm. And the Port referendum case is similarly about whether or not the courts may declare the Port referendum law to be unconstitutional and void, or whether or not, similarly, they should refer that back to the legislature to address and resolve any issue that is unconstitutional in that law.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second just to ask if you believe that the present system that we have in terms of determining the constitutionality of laws, the current arrangement that we have in terms of who determines that, is that sufficient? Should we have more of a panel as opposed to, in the initial case, just one judge?
I think in the broadest sense, the nature of this relationship is slightly unclear, which is why we are having these cases argued in the courts and why the outcomes of these will ultimately shape that relationship. Okay. I think your question relates, if I've misinterpreted you, I'm sure you'll tell me, but I think what you're saying is, should the Court of First Instance that looks at the constitutionality of matters, should it be composed of more than one judge?
Absolutely correct, sir.
Currently, constitutional cases move by way of petition to constitutional petition to the courts in the usual way, and the Grand Court, our equivalent of the High Court, will look at these with one judge at first instance. It's entirely plausible that we could create a constitutional court or a constitutional division, and we could, by way of constitutional amendment, make provision for a panel of judges to look at those issues. There may well be some merit in that it would perhaps give a broader cross-section of views at first instance and might insulate those decisions from appeal thereafter. But that's not to say that we haven't received some excellent, comprehensive, well-reasoned and detailed judgments that help us to understand the direction in which the Constitution is moving. As I say, there may be some advantages, then there may be some costs associated with that and some disadvantages. And as I've said in other matters, this is why we need to have this discussion. This is why we need to have this debate.
Yes.
This is why we need to engage and to thrash these issues out. And if there really is a consensus around an improvement, then we should be able to lobby and push for such an improvement.
Yes, I agree. Go right ahead, sir. You got the mic.
So yes, you asked me what the Constitutional Commission would urge people to do. We would urge people to educate themselves and become informed about the Constitution. Mm-hmm. There are a number of resources that are available on the Constitutional Commission's website, which is www.constitutionalcommission.ky. Go to the website, look at what is there. There are frequently asked questions and answers to those. There are resources, there are press releases, there are comments and reports, there are international materials there. If you have a question, if this discussion has prompted a question, if your research or your general knowledge has prompted a question, send it in. Send it in to the Constitutional Commission, and its email address is info@constitutionalcommission.ky. Ideally, I think we would love to see a number of questions come in that would enable us to, over the constitutional weekend, look at those, and then in the period thereafter, maybe formulate some general answers to common questions, and to put those answers out there, maybe to come back and talk to you and your listeners again, and to give those answers. And also, I know that there are a number of constitutional scholars listening to your show, as they always do. If they have materials, if they have information relevant to the Constitution, particularly the local perspective on what happened with historical events, that is hugely important to understanding the evolution and the development of our Constitution. And the Commission would appreciate receiving that information, documents, commentaries, and would be pleased to post that on its website and make that generally available. We would love to see the website develop into a bank of materials that people could access, that educators could access. One of the challenges has been getting civics education and education about the Constitution and about all of the commissions into our schools. And in part, that is often because we don't have the resources around that. So if we can provide those resources, it can be a sustainable resource for teachers to access and use to help the next generation understand the Constitution. So access the website, ask questions, provide materials, find out and engage with the Constitution, and monitor current affairs.
Yes, good. Very sage advice, very sage advice, and we hope and we trust that people will follow it again. Any other closing comments that you want to add, Mr. Carter?
That's our core message. As I say, the newly reconstituted Constitutional Commission is now up and running and actively working. I hope that we will publish an update for Constitutional Day, which covers all of the issues that I've raised with you today, and indeed a number of other issues. It will also provide the website details, and it will provide the contact email, info@constitutionalcommission.ky email address. And I hope we'll stimulate a number of questions, and I hope that we can continue the conversation and use the commemoration of our first Constitution and use Constitution Day as a springboard for further development and further discussion.
Yes. Mr. Carter, I want to thank you very much. It's a pity that we've run out of time because, like you said yesterday, when we spoke, we could talk for hours, on this whole issue as well. But thank you for the comprehensive discussion that you have provided us with this morning, and we look forward to more discussions with you. And any press release that you may put out for Constitution Day, we certainly would be happy here on Radio Cayman and in particular on For the Record to share that with our listeners as well.
It's my pleasure to be with you, Mr. Connor, and with your audience, and I thank you very kindly. I wish you and I wish everybody a very happy Constitution Day, and I look forward to speaking with you again at your convenience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carter. Thank you very much. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day today. Continue to support your radio station. And Mr. Henberg Dixon, also known as Yoka, you have a great day as well on your 90th birthday after working for National Bulk Carriers from 1952 for 29 years. You deserve all the rest that you can get, and you deserve to celebrate your 90th birthday as well. So, folks, continue to follow your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. FIS MoneyGram, the safest and most convenient way to send money worldwide. MoneyGram, bringing you closer. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. And Fidelity Bank. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only two species that we have, on Island.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines